Welcome to the Geeks Attic. This is an expanded universe book review of Star Wars X-Wing Wraith Squadron. Star Wars Wraith Squadron, Book 5 in the X-Wing series, was written by best-selling author Allston. This expanded universe tale takes place during the New Republic era, 7 ABY, or 7 years after the Battle of Yavin. Now let's get into a brief summary before we get into my overall thoughts. Wedge Antilles builds a new squadron. He wants to mirror Rogue Squadron, which is both fighter unit and commando unit. Rogue Squadron is pilot first, commando second. He wants to create a new one, where the roles are just reversed. Commando skills first, fighter pilot skills second. So the race, they will commandeer an Imperial ship with the mission logs, the codes, the mapping, all intact and available to them. They will use this equipment to pose as Imperials, following through on the missions that are logged on the schedule as to not arouse suspicion. This will be the perfect opportunity for the New Republic to gather intel on the whereabouts of Warlord Zinj, the Imperial who is now the biggest threat to the galaxy after the death of Izard. If all goes to plan, Wraith Squadron would be able to strike at Zinj whenever he least expects it. While the first 4 books of the X-Wing series focused on Rogue Squadron, there's a massive shift in the series. This story is full of new characters, though some of the older characters do make an appearance. Wraith is now the primary focus of the X-Wing series. Now let's get into my overall thoughts. I enjoyed this book better than the previous 4 X-Wing stories, though this one is a little bit slow at times. The development of Wraith Squadron, the missions that they go on, the interaction between the characters, all written very well. I am a little bit irritated though, because we're teased that Wraith Squadron was going to be commando unit first, and then fighter pilot second. We really didn't get a lot of commando action, but, we'll see what happens moving forward. The first 4 books in the X-Wing series written by Michael A. Stackpole had a lot of characters to keep up with. That really doesn't change in Aaron Allston's book, but it is sometimes when you have a lot of characters, easy to lose track of who's who. But Wraith Squadron does have a lot more memorable characters, at least for me. A few of the characters that I found to be pretty unique and some of the most memorable characters that I've read in a while. The first one being Piggy. He is a Gamorrean that has this vocal translator to speak basic. He was a subject of a strange experiment under the rule of the Empire. The second being Donos. He's a human male. He was part of a squadron that was pretty much all killed off, and he has to live with that guilt, but he has some pretty unique skills and very interesting character. Wedge Antilles was also written very well in this book. We get a good sense of the burden that he carries and the responsibility that he has in the New Republic. This might be controversial, might irritate some people, but I am so happy that Corran Horn was absent in this story. I cannot stand that character. But Aaron Allston, he did a fine job mixing up the X-Wing series with the introduction of Wraith Squadron and the cast of new characters. The plot was straightforward, introducing risky tactics that proved to be beneficial to the New Republic. This story actually retcons something from the previous book, and I found that to be a little bit funny. Rogue Squadron in the previous book resigned from the New Republic so that they can go and complete the mission that they wanted to complete. Turns out those resignations were actually just misfiled, therefore they were still operating as the New Republic. And this temporary Rogue Squadron with these other pilots were put in their place so it wouldn't draw attention. I found it to be a little silly, but it made me laugh, and some of those retcons have to happen for these books to make sense and to continue on in a different direction than what, say, Michael A. Stackpole had in mind. Aaron Allston has a different vision for the X-Wing series, so it works. It works. So do I recommend that you read this tale? I'm going to say yes. This is the best installment in the X-Wing series, in my opinion, so far, out of the first 5 books. It's got a whole new cast of characters. It's a new author. I like it a lot. You don't have to read the first 4 books in the X-Wing series if you don't want to enjoy this one. So for the rating, I will give Star Wars X-Wing Wraith Squadron a B+. And that's going to do it for this video. Check me out across all social media at The Geeks Attic and thegeeksattic.com. Have a good one.